Poised for Exit is a show for business owners who want to achieve a successful exit based on their own terms. Your business exit will likely be the biggest financial transaction of your life, and for most, you'll have one shot at doing it right. The topics and guests we feature and the stories they share will provide valuable ideas and strategies to improve operations and grow enterprise value so you can achieve the best possible exit outcome. Now here's your host, award-winning certified exit planning advisor, Julie Keys.
Welcome, everyone, to Poised for Exit. In this episode, we are going to be speaking with a man who has spent an incredible amount of time examining business acquisition deals, 10,000 or more to be exact. When it comes to growing companies and creating shareholder value, you could actually say he's an expert. And we're going to learn how he does it right after these messages from our show sponsors. Are you a business owner getting ready to transition? If so, I recommend True North Mergers and Acquisitions as your confidential strategic partner. They understand your business sale isn't just about one buyer and the price, but what you net that counts. In other words, what you get to keep. When you're ready for a higher level of representation that delivers consistent results, contact True North M&A to do the heavy lifting of selling your business. Learn more at tnma.com. That's tnma.com.
Selling your business may be the furthest thing from your mind, but that doesn't mean you should wait to plan. At TrustPoint, we understand the nuances that come with selling a business and are here to guide you. From unlocking tax efficiencies to minimizing risk, we'll develop the strategies to ensure you're prepared. So, when the time arrives, you'll be ready to enjoy the best years of your life. Learn more at TrustPointInc.com. That's TrustPointinc.com.
For business owners, it can be overwhelming to start planning a transition or exit strategy, but it's so important to avoid unwanted outcomes and unexpected tax bills. The CPAs at JAK, John A. Knutson and Company, can guide you and help make sense of the numbers. Our firm was established over 90 years ago, and we've assisted countless companies with ownership transitions. Leaving your business is a process that takes time. So contact us today to discuss your situation. Visit our website at jakcpa.com. That's jakcpa.com.
My name is Todd Crow, and I'm the president of the Twin Cities Exit Planning Chapter. If you're a business owner and advisor and want to learn more about the world of exit planning, you're invited to visit the Twin Cities chapter of the Exit Planning Institute. You can expect top-level education delivered by subject matter experts at every monthly meeting. Grow your network and draw from the learning that could be a game changer for your business or your practice. There's no pressure to become a member, so come and see what the buzz is all about. Our meetings are held the second Wednesday of the month, 7:30 to 9 a.m. See the show notes for more information and registration links.
Hello, Poised for Exit listeners. We are here today with Rick Brimacomb, and Rick is the founder and CEO of Brimacomb Capital. Among other things, Rick is involved in a lot of different organizations, and we're going to hear about some of them today. But it's been great trying to get Rick in the studio. He's such a busy guy, and I've been busy, and we finally made it happen. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, I've had an opportunity to know Julie for a number of years, and I'm grateful to be here, grateful to have the opportunity, and fun to do this with you.
Yeah, for sure. I think when we first met was when you had, maybe soon after you launched Club Entrepreneur, which is like still going strong, and you made it through COVID, and that's amazing.
I did make it through COVID by flipping to doing digital when people
online.
were not doing stuff in person. And yes, you and I have crossed a lot of bridges over the years with mutual clients and learning to help companies grow and exit. And it's a grateful journey for me. And again, appreciate being here.
Yeah, for sure. Love having you here. So we're going to kind of dive in right away with some of the things that you're involved in. Now, I know that you're involved in venture capital, obviously Brimacomb Capital. You also have some organizations that you have partnerships in. You've got Club Entrepreneur. Where would you like to start?
I can go wherever you want to go. I know that you have been to Club E for a number of times over many, many years, and so we could start there and go from there. All right.
See what's going on with that.
So Club E, I started back in 2007. The idea was to put people in person, look somebody in the eye, shake their hand, get to know them, make beneficial connections and contacts to help people grow their businesses. I was at the Minneapolis Club. There was lots of high-level, macro kinds of things that were valuable there, whether it was listening to the CEO of 3M or the head of local Federal Reserve. And I wanted to do something for kind of the average business person. I put myself in that bucket. So, not demeaning to anybody, but I wanted people to come to a lunch, meet some good people, make some connections, and then learn something so they could go back to their desk and make improvements like that very day. So that was my ultimate goal, was to get people to grow their businesses faster, better, more efficiently, and learn things right there that afternoon to make improvements. The other two parts of my business are the partnership section, where I'm going on boards, I'm doing advisory work, I'm, again, helping people grow their companies. And then the third piece that you mentioned was Brimacomb Capital, and I've been making investments for a couple of decades. This is just a formalization of things I've been doing. And so the three parts of that business is all like a funnel, if you think of a marketing funnel.
Right.
Clubby at the top, partnerships going down to Brimacomb Capital.
Yeah, it's a good circle of love. I guess I would kind of characterize my organization the same way, because one feeds the next, which feeds the next, which feeds the next.
Which allows you to wake up in the morning and you're multitasking, got a lot going on, but it all feeds into the same funnel.
Right.
And it also is in the same kinds of things that you like doing. And so it's easy to get up every morning when you're energized about what you're doing and you're adding value to people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're like me and you have a little bit of attention deficit, you get bored doing the same thing all day, every day. So got to keep it fresh.
Well, I think for us multitaskers, that's a little bit of that ADD for sure.
Yeah.
And that's why you and I both have done well having multiple clients or multiple revenue streams and multiple businesses going on, and also being able to add value to multiple companies.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just the entrepreneurial spirit that you have, and the things that you have done for other people, has really carried your brand. But you didn't start there, right? So let's go way back and talk about, like, how did Rick Brimacomb get his start? I'm sure a lot of people that you know will be listening to this episode, and they maybe don't even know your story.
Sure. Well, like any entrepreneur, it's a long story, and we don't have not enough time to cover it all today. However, it goes back to Reader's Digest, family of origin, parents that were both entrepreneurial.
Sure.
Dad had his own dental practice. Mom did a variety of things. Their parents were entrepreneurial. Their grandparents were entrepreneurial. So runs in the gene pool.
Sure.
For me, I was cutting lawns, trying to make a buck, shoveling sidewalks to make a buck, babysitting, evolved into buying baseball cards and comic books and kind of trading those. And very early on, buying a couple of stocks. My dad kind of dipped my toes into the water of the stock market a little bit. So there are a lot of things going on there. From a business standpoint, I had a job as an undergrad in college, and I was, in essence, a research gopher for a couple of stockbrokers back in the day, pre-internet, where you had to do your own research to figure things out, and learned that didn't want to be a stockbroker, but I liked the research analysis side, so I got a job as a junior research analyst, learned how to analyze companies, did that for a couple of years. Then went into investment banking, learned how to raise money, sell companies, and probably the core skill set there is packaging a corporate story so that people can get it, understand it, emotionally engage with it, and then ultimately reach into their pocket to write a check because they're either buying a company or they're investing in a company. And so investment banking led to venture capital and private equity. One of my clients at Piper when I was in investment banking was Norwest Venture Capital. So I went into Norwest Venture Capital, started doing private equity and venture capital. And then that led me to doing my own fund. And here I am. Wow.
So all of that obviously led you to being able to do the work that you do today.
Exactly. Yep.
And obviously, entrepreneurs, we tend to be trailblazing people. I know most of my clients are pretty trailblazing, like you are. But that doesn't mean that we're not afraid. That just means that we don't let that get in the way. So we kind of plow forward. And I'm thinking about the companies that you actually have a like a vested interest in. So what have you done to help them to re-engage that fire, that trailblazing entrepreneurial fire? Because they get you involved because they've maybe reached a plateau in some way, and you get involved to reignite. So let's talk about that for a second.
Sure. Well, first of all, I think most entrepreneurs are following things that are of interest to them, and they're not chasing a paycheck. The money is kind of at the end, and it's a scoreboard, not the reason they're doing this. They saw a problem in the market. They wanted to solve it. They had a calling, and they needed to go do something. So they were following things that were of interest to them, and then they were not willing to be held back by people saying no, or articles saying, this didn't make sense or whatever. There's always lots of roadblocks. They overcome those roadblocks. But ultimately, at some point, there's probably some sort of stall. They don't have the right people. Maybe the strategy's off a little bit.
Yeah.
They're still kind of sorting things out. And so when they are a little stalled or maybe have a little uncertainty about how to move it forward, that's a great spot for me to come in, outside set of eyes and ears. And when you talked about earlier in my career, I think the thing that has been beneficial to me is I have these 3 unique experiences of analyzing companies, raising money, and then growing businesses and investing money. And all those things provide different perspectives. So when you have a fresh set of eyes and ears and you're looking at a business, you can maybe see things a little differently, ask some different questions. Maybe we start to cut some stuff back that maybe doesn't make as much sense. Maybe we add something new to the equation. But being maybe more just outside what they're doing and not afraid to ask questions, some of which are stupid. But asking those questions, pushing people to think differently about what they're doing, and then meeting them where they're at. Because, yes, we're all short of capital. We're all short of time. We don't have enough staff, all that stuff. But you meet people where they're at, add some value, and then try to change the growth trajectory.
So that all sounds amazing. What's a typical client look like? Like specific industry, specific size, specific stage?
Sure. So I've done a number of startups over the years, actually going back to my investment research days back in the late 80s. We were working with startup companies. So I got multiple decades now at this point in time, and a lot of gray hair from working with early stage companies.
Oh, sure.
And
okay, why though? Why would it be? Why the gray hair with early stage?
Oh, that was a cracking, because most people would say, hey, that's super risky or crazy or whatever. It's also a little bit of play on how old I am and, that kind of stuff. Just been around for a little while. But yes, there's a lot of ambiguity, and I'm comfortable sitting in that space and actually thrive a little bit with the intellectual challenge of trying to figure things out. And that's, I think, what gets in the way of a lot of people who might otherwise do something entrepreneurial. They get stuck in the fear or just they analyze something to death rather than say, hey, I got some information. It's pointing me in a certain way. I'm going to just start to go that direction. I'm going to figure some stuff out along the way. And I'm going to be okay with the ambiguity of a situation. And not everybody can do that, nor should they.
Sure.
But some people, it holds them back. Others are willing to jump. And that's why I've stayed here, because actually, frankly, I enjoy it.
And you don't need all the lights to be on green before you leave.
Absolutely not. In fact, if you're waiting for all the lights to be on green, never going to happen.
Never will.
Kind of like, what's the right time to have a kid?
Right. There is no right time.
Yeah,
exactly, for sure. And you're in the relationship business, not the transaction business.
Yes.
So tell us more about that.
Yeah, actually, that's one of the things I didn't like about investment banking. It was very transactional.
Yeah,
you got a project, you worked on it, and you're done.
Right.
And that also is an interesting thing, because you're always learning things new. You're always looking at new industries, new companies, et cetera. So I did learn doing that, though, that I appreciated and valued the relationship side of doing things. And if you do like personality profiling, I'll scale high on those kinds of things. So I like the relationship side. I want to know about that person's life. I want to know about that person's business. I want them to trust me. I want them to call me on a Saturday morning, Sunday night. I want them to feel good about our relationship. And then the other part of what I'm doing now working with these companies is it's not an in and out, you're there for 6 months and you're done. These things take 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And if you don't have a good relationship with those people, not going to work. And I would argue that those relationships are what make the work valuable and more entertaining and just brings more kind of joy to me. So I like knowing what's happening with their business. I like knowing what's going on with their families. I like being a part of the grad parties, a part of socializing with them, game nights, etc. So I want it to be more than a business relationship, and that's frankly what energizes me.
So when you talk about clients, are you talking about Brimacomb Capital clients, or are you talking about the companies that you have partnerships in and board seats in?
Sure. Actually, some of those are overlapping, so that might cover all the situations. But honestly, whether I'm on a board or whether I'm invested or whether I'm a co-founder, all those things have multi-year timelines to those projects. And so rather than punch your clock and just come in and out and whatever, do your work blindly, I would rather get to know them. I'd rather like and enjoy spending time with them outside of the work, knowing what's going on with their family, whether there's challenges with a child or a spouse or an aging parent or whatever. All that just makes the work more meaningful. Yes, I do like the work, but the relationship side is what really makes it special, which honestly, going back in time, was part of what my dad enjoyed about being a dentist. He liked the dentistry, but he always came home talking about his relationships with those families, and then those families turned into multi-generational. Worked on grandpa, worked on, parents, worked on the grandkids. And so I guess I take after him in that regard and really like the people side.
You learned well.
I kept my eyes and ears open.
Well, that's what it takes, really. Now, when we talk about these relationships and how you get involved in the things that you've done to take them from here to there, maybe you got a story that you could share with our listeners.
Well, there are a couple different ways to go about working with the company. You could have a certain methodology or recipe. Hey, I come in and I do these 10 things. And I've often had people try to say, hey, what are the 10 things? But the reality is, for me anyway, the 10 things are always different because I said it earlier, I try to meet people where they're at.
Sure.
So what might be good for party A may not be fit with party B. So
right.
I come in with an open mind, try to assess what I think they're good at, not so good at, what they have, what they don't have, listen to them about their to-dos and their challenges. I probably scratch a few of those things from the list saying, hey, yeah, we can work on that later, but that's not a priority. Let's do some other things. I might add a couple things to the list. And then from there, I've been doing this for multiple decades. As I mentioned, use the Malcolm Gladwell example of the 10,000 hours to be an expert. I've seen over 10,000 deals over the couple of decades I've been doing this. So I've seen a lot of things that say, hey, that's not going to work here. Yes, that will work here.
Yeah.
Here's a good idea to offer up something. Some of the key things that have been beneficial to multiple companies, building advisory boards where there wasn't one, creating dashboards where you're making decision based on data and metrics, and you're measuring it over time. So you're making ROI-based decisions. EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, is something I subscribe to. I don't make people do it, but I bring it to the table. I raise people capital. I help people get articles written in the newspaper. I do a variety of things, including pushing them to be speaking on things like this, to build their business brand, their personal brand, to get perceived as a market expert, and then really kind of try to shepherd them through the journey. And the journey always changes, much like being a parent. I know I got 4 kids. What you do when the kids are little is way different than what you're doing when they're teenagers, and that's different from now when they're in their 20s. So I, again, try to meet people where they're at, try to help them have clarity around what's important, and then serve them up ideas and try to persuade them or make a case for a certain path versus telling them what to do. And then hopefully they buy into a vision, and then I support them on that vision.
Yeah, they have to have the buy-in. Otherwise, why bother, right?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of investors who say, hey, I put money in, you have to do it this way. I don't think that's the right way for me.
Sure.
And so I come at it more like, hey, let me educate them about, hey, we got 3 choices, A, B, C, and let's go from there. And I try to help them with that. And so I view it more as a kind of an educational thing.
Well, plus you're not going to get involved if it doesn't feel like it's a right fit anyway, right? You probably say no more than you say yes when you're getting involved.
100%, 99.5% of the time say no, 100%. Yeah. It's a people thing. Like you and I have known each other for a couple of decades. Yeah. If you didn't respect me, if I didn't respect you, we wouldn't be sitting here. Mm-hmm. You meet people and you have respect for them, or you like how they think, or you're amazed at how they create. And it is a creative journey for these entrepreneurs. And so it's very much a people business, because you're betting and working with the creativity of these people. And so I have a couple of portfolio companies that are run by people that I said, I want to work with you before we even had a company. I picked them before we even had a company to go do something with.
Right. Well, you have the same philosophy, the same values. You know how they operate. And like you said, you can trust them. I mean, I've always said that trust is measurable, because if things take longer, then they cost more. Therefore, trust is measurable, right? And if it takes longer, it's because you don't trust them. So, yeah, anyway. Well, so to wrap up, this kind of went fast, but we could keep going, but we can't. What's 2025 look like? What's your crystal ball looking like? What's on the horizon for you guys?
Well, 2 answers. What's going on at a macro perspective for all of us, and then what's happening for me. For all of us, I think we're going into a great economy. Myself, I think we're going to see regulatory matters lighten up. I think tax burdens are going to lighten up. But more importantly, and I can speak to this firsthand, private equity money is flooding into the market. They've been sitting on cash for a long time. Yeah. I think there's a lot of people who were sitting back waiting to see what was going to happen. They're now moving forward. I have 2 companies in my portfolio that are in the process of being bought by private equity. I have 2 friends and a kind of small network of people that are I would consider my closest friends, and 2 of those people have businesses that are being bought by private equity. Private equity now owns about 20% of the companies in the country. You go back about 25 years ago, they only owned about 5% of the company. Sure. And so that money is going to put a lot of gas in gas tanks over the next year. And so I'm very bullish about what's going to happen. Not that it's going to be easy or all straight up and to the right. But I'm very excited about what's going on. For me personally, got several companies that are doing well, as I mentioned, too, that I hope to have sold by the end of the year, and feel good about it.
Yeah, and you're part of that upside then.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with private equity, one more question. Any specific industries for 2025 that you're thinking are probably going to be pretty hot?
So, good question. Honestly, I think that depending on whether you're coming at it from the way you ask that question or the other way, a lot of people will say, I want to build a company. Where should I go build it? I think that's more of a personal choice. What are they good at? What do they like? What do they have passion for? Where do they see a problem? And is there something that they know about? I would encourage people to follow that path versus to try to guess where to go from a market perspective. Then the second part is, which I think they might have a little more power over, is what's a business model that works? A business model that works has recurring revenue.
Yes.
And you're not out trying to hustle the next deal every day.
Right.
And the investors and buyers, the private equity firms and venture capital firms, all love the recurring revenue. So if there's any way to tweak your business to be recurring revenue based, or turn some part of the business model into that, and not to say that I'm the smartest guy in the room, But about 10 years ago, I kind of saw what was happening in the market, and I started to do a lot of work in my portfolio with companies that had recurring revenue. And so I made a strategic shift about 10 years ago, just kind of seeing how things were playing out. And those companies get valued based on revenue and growth, not on profitability. So if you put a multiple on profits versus a multiple on revenue, obviously there's a big difference there. So it's kind of like moving from the $5 blackjack table to the $100 blackjack table. You can win more at the $100 blackjack table.
Absolutely. I give my clients the same advice. Recurring revenue is where it's at.
Absolutely.
You can just do so many things. You can plan and budget and grow. And
and if you don't have much attrition, like these companies, 98% of the revenue comes back from one year to the next. So budgeting and exit planning and all the stuff that you do would definitely be easier to do in a recurring revenue model.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for being on the show, Rick.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Anything special to wrap up before we close out?
Anything special to wrap up? Yeah. I think for anybody who's been sitting on an idea or anybody who's been hesitant to do something, and we talked about earlier saying not all the lights are always green, to say that 25 is going to be a good year, the economy is going to be a good year. It's not, I don't think, going to just be 25. So if you're ever thinking about doing something, I think right now is a wonderful time to do it. And then the last part would be getting noticed, which was our title today. Just to remember that those entrepreneurs out there, and I know you help a lot of them on your exit planning and with your book and your advisory practice. For those entrepreneurs to remember that they're the prize, and if they do their business right, they're going to attract buyers versus solicit them. And I tell you what, the dynamics are way better, multiples are way better. And the 4 companies in my portfolio that either are exited or in the process of exiting came from people coming to us. And you can say no until they meet your price, and then you say yes, and everybody has a smile.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. So good to have you on the show. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it. We'll have to do this again sooner than how we got you in here. You're a busy guy, but that's good. I love that. I was going to ask you earlier in the show if you ever sleep.
Not all that much, and some people need more sleep than others. So it's a little bit of a natural thing. Don't have to.
Yeah.
But I also would say, if you're doing stuff that makes you happy, you're doing things that energize you, it's easy to get up, it's easy to do it.
Right.
Take care of mind, body, spirit. You do those things, then it's easy to work hard and get up early.
Well, you're an expert at it. Thanks, Rick.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. And thank you, our listeners, for joining us. Please join us again next time. And by the way, please share this episode. Appreciate it.